Hey, what's up guys? Level Up here at On Point Gaming. Today I'm going to be doing one of my terrible weapon challenges. For the first one, it's going to be one that I picked myself. It's going to be the L85A2, the 6-time rifle scope, the foregrip, and the suppressor. Now the L85 is one of my favorite guns in the game to start with, but you can add some attachments that sort of contradict its performance and can kind of bring the gun down to its knees, which is what I've aimed to do here. So, the L85A2 is just like every other assault rifle in the respect that it does 25 damage up close and 18.4 at longer ranges. The reload times are 2.8 seconds on a short reload and 3.35 seconds on a long reload. So, you know, you're looking at a pretty decent reload time, but I haven't really ever felt disappointed by it because it's only minusculely longer than the AEK and the F2000, which are also some of my favorite guns. The rate of fire is 650 rounds per minute, so it's going to be one of the slower guns in the game, but you know, whenever you take its accuracy and its recoil pattern, it sort of evens that out, so to speak. The muzzle velocity is 600 meters per second, which is brought down to 3 something with the suppressor, so you're going to experience a lot more difficulty trying to lead targets. Now the first shot recoil multiplier is 2.5x, which is higher than some assault rifles, so that's sort of going to be one of the issues that you'll find with this gun, but it also does have the .2 spread ADS just like other assault rifles. Now you take the foregrip and the suppressor, and your spread is going to be at about .4 with a 6-time rifle scope, so these attachments absolutely contradict each other. I would have rather had a bipod and a heavy barrel, but again the idea was to create a gun that is difficult to use, because it wouldn't be the terrible weapon challenge if it wasn't for that. So, I was shocked, actually. Not only was I able to perform with it, but I was actually able to perform well with it. I played a game, I kid you not, went 55-3. I was trying to run my capture software, but it froze up mid-game, so I don't have that one to show for you. But this one I went 55-8, so I was just absolutely destroying with this gun. Now, I don't know if it is because I was up against some lesser skilled players. It didn't really feel that way, but I was feeling the advantages of having the suppressor greatly whenever I could sneak up behind enemy lines. The 6-time rifle scope, while handy for some sniper rifles, really doesn't belong on an assault rifle. I would have been much more comfortable with an ACOG. But even then the ACOG is quite obstructive. Now of course the rifle scope, you get this big black ring around your scope, which is semi-unrealistic, but it's easier for the CPU to process, therefore makes the game run smoother, so dice didn't never work on a double rendering system. But it is just really, it's just tunnel vision, so whenever you aim in on a target, you're pretty much dedicating to shooting that person, because there's basically no chance that you're going to transition from target to target very easily. That is the only downfall that I had really with this sight, was the fact that trying to transition from target to target, and even trying to follow a target if they were running exactly to the opposite, you know, exactly parallel, so to speak, to my vision. So if they were running from the right side of my screen across to the left side of my screen, I was having a very extremely hard time trying to keep them inside of the scope, because even if I overcompensated for a second, or thought I overcompensated for a second, I would stop, and then he would never run out in front of him because I actually undercompensated. So it was very easy to lose my targets and kind of get lost in combat, but once I got kind of the idea of target transition, like right there, it nearly got me killed, but that was also a pretty smooth transition for a rifle scope. Now I'm using the 44 Magnum, and there's a very simple reason I'm using the 44. For one, it's a very rewarding gun to use well, and it does 60 damage up close, so one shot to the face or 2 shots to the chest close quarters, they're done for, so I needed something that would be really hard hitting in some areas. Now the suppressor takes your damage model down from 18.4 at 50 meters to 18.4 at 35 meters, so you're going to lose this gun's range. Luckily I was playing Team Deathmatch, so this wasn't much of an issue, but on Strike at Karkin, there are some pretty long alleyways and whatnot that kind of left me hanging. Whoop, sorry. They kind of left me hanging in some situations that I would have been better off with a different weapon, or a different sight, or just different attachments. It's sort of an interesting combination of go at it hard, but don't go at it too hard. If you play too aggressively, you're going to die just because of how this weapon performs in close quarters. With the addition of the spread, with the suppressor in the foregrip, and then you have the rifle scope that you can't use in close quarters, and the hipfire accuracy is kind of abysmal. I mean, it's not like horrible, but it would be far better off with a higher rate of fire gun as far as hipfire is concerned. So it's kind of difficult to pull off some close quarter kills, but you cannot be underconfident or overconfident with this weapon, because it's just going to get you killed. So I was using this gun in kind of a campy style fashion. And I will say this, if you ever use this setup, you're going to find yourself camping way more than you ever do with an assault rifle, unless you are one of those corner camper noobs. I'll admit it, I was playing kind of campy, but you have to think of what my attachments were that sort of make it a thing where I don't feel so bad about it, because I know that if I went head first like I normally would with my M416, I would have been killed nearly instantly. Now, the long range abilities of this gun has always been the reason that I liked it. Now, this was minusculely brought down by the foregrip and the suppressor, but I still felt pretty confident engaging guys at about 50 meters. I still didn't really feel like the gun was neglecting my kills, so to speak. I don't really ever feel like it was. I didn't ever feel like it was really letting me down. There were a couple times where I felt a little iffy about it, but I never really went at it like, if I shoot and I start missing, I'm just gonna blow through ammo for no point, because I felt like I could usually hit him. This guy right here is probably at 35-40 meters, so I mean, you can drop him reasonably quick. And the way that this gun's recoil pattern is, 0.28 on either side and 0.28 up, it is a very symmetrical recoil pattern. So it brings it nearly straight up and kind of bounces from side to side. So getting headshots were very easy to pull off with this gun. I'm not saying that they were easy, I'm not saying that they were easy, but I'm not saying that they were hard either. But the rate of fire situation can still be worked on, I feel like. I would have been better off with an M416, or perhaps an AEK, or an F2000 with this setup even. So in the end, do I recommend this setup? Absolutely not. It takes a very certain skill set, and even I was having a hard time producing, but once I did kind of get into a rhythm, I was able to perform quite well with this weapon. So if you want to do it just for kicks and grins, feel free to. I just wouldn't recommend it for daily use. I might use it on an M416 or an M16 at some point, just to kind of get a feel for what this setup is like on other guns, but I don't feel like it really serves a purpose as a primary setup in this game. So that's all that I have for you guys today. I'm Level Up here at On Point Gaming. Have a good one, and take it easy, guys.